Apple has maintained its position as the world's most valuable brand. Forbes has released its 2016 top global brands list, and tech titans dominate over half of those coveted slots. Now, Apple has made the top 10 list for the 6th year in a row now. According to Forbes, the most valuable brands are ones that generate significant earnings in industries where branding plays a major role. So where customers opt for that brand and are even willing to pay more when the product is relatively similar to that of competitors. And Apple is in a class of its own, topping the list with a value of over $154 billion, a whopping 87% more brand value than Google, which is ranked second. Now, rounding out the top 5, Microsoft, Coca-Cola, and Facebook. Facebook's brand had the biggest increase, up 44% year over year. Toyota, despite many recalls, still in at number 6. IBM was the biggest loser, down 17% to number 7, followed by Disney in 8th place, McDonald's in 9th, and GE in 10th. Now, the Forbes list extends to 100 brands spanning 16 countries. And US-based companies make up just over half of the list, with 52 brands. Germany second with 11 brands, followed by Japan and France. And brand recognition equals big money. The total combined brand value of the top 100 is $1.8 trillion. For more, I'm joined by international brand consultant Dean Crutchfield. Dean, always good to see you.
Great to be here, Michelle.
Dean, Forbes' top 100 brands list, how is that value calculated?
Well, it's two things. There's financial metrics, so they look at the last 3 years of earnings for the company before interest and tax. They then add the profit to earnings ratio per category on each of those brands to calculate the intangible asset value of the business. But that's just the financial metrics. They also look at customer perception, and very large global studies done for customers' perceptions, looking at, is it innovative? Do you respect it? Is it admirable? These are the kinds of questions that are asked to formulate that opinion.
Apple, top of the list, 87% ahead of its next competitor on the list, Google. How is it that Apple does this so well?
It's a phenomena, but it's always been a great brand. You know, even since Steve Jobs kind of rekindled it, it's always been about its brand, it's been about its reputation, it's always been about breakthrough technology, and people love it. So from an earnings standpoint, huge. From a customer perception standpoint, huge.
And speaking of tech, 17 of the top brands are in the tech industry. Why is it that tech is able to distinguish itself?
Look at our lives. You know, every facet of our day, intrinsic to everything we do is technology. You know, whether it's Google or Microsoft, we're using this software, we're using these engines, search engines all the time. That's what makes them so popular and so successful.
Nadine, you talk about our lives, you talk about technology, you talk about smartphones. Just 6 years ago, BlackBerry was number 3 on the top 10 list. Now it's completely off that list. How can a brand become so irrelevant so quickly?
Exactly that. They lose their differentiation and they use their relevance in the market. You know, the fact that all the new players came in and BlackBerry didn't change its game basically left it back in the changing room.
So just because you have a good name once doesn't mean you're going to have it forever.
There's no guarantee of that whatsoever.
But Toyota has managed to keep its good name, number 6 on the list, even though there have been so many Toyota recalls. Just in April, 58,000 vehicles Toyota had to recall. Does this surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me so much. I mean, there is a lot of loyalty to Toyota brands by drivers who are Toyotas. There's, you know, the average Toyota's on the road for 12 to 15 years. I mean, it's a very stable car. It's enjoyed by millions of people and has that perception. Obviously, there are those who are not that impressed by it, given its current track record.
But how is it able to maintain that goodwill even with all of these recalls?
That's a good brand. You know, if you can stand tall in a market, if you can be different in the market, if you can be relevant in the market, your brand will take a battering and still stay alive. That's the importance of brands. They protect your business.
Well, one brand that has certainly taken a battering lately is Volkswagen, with the emission scandals. It's still on the list, however. Explain that.
Again, Volkswagen has a bad rep, but the actual cars themselves, the products themselves, are actually quality vehicles. They have a perception for that. They're also quirky. They have a lot of personality. You know, there's Audi, there's Porsche, and Volkswagen. I mean, these are really standout brands that people really enjoy seeing on the road, and they love driving them. So that's why.
Even with this huge emissions scandal, and the brand has lost about $12 billion in brand value, but it's still a good brand.
It's still hanging in there, and that's the goodwill of the business. That's the goodwill of the customers who enjoy the car. That's the power of a brand. It protects you from business impact.
Well, some of the biggest losers on the list, IBM, down 17%.
Well, come on, it's IBM. I mean, they've absolutely, what do they do that's actually relevant today? I have to say, it's the sexiness of IBM that it used to have is long gone, long gone.
So do you think that brand is on its way to becoming a BlackBerry irrelevant one?
I would actually say so, yes. I think that IBM's on the wrong direction. Its trajectory is the wrong way.
So what do they need to do to turn it around? How much of it is brand and how much of it is marketing and how much of it is product?
I think it's open heart surgery. That would be very useful. You know, it's again the product. It doesn't have the relevance. It's all about the cloud these days. So IBM servers, who cares?
Well, it's still on the list, though losing value. One of the biggest gainers, the biggest gainer, in fact, is Facebook, up 44%. How does Facebook's brand still have so much room to grow? That was quite surprising.
It's surprising, but at the same time, look at Facebook's role in our lives. I mean, we're talking like, you know, over 1 billion people enjoying the product, advertisers streaming their ads on it. It's become a major business with a lot of revenue. So it's changed. It's really upped its game and it's upped its business model.
So you see Facebook and Apple reaching a saturation point in terms of brand recognition?
It depends on the product. You know, if people start getting bored of signing up to Facebook or using it, if we've seen that iPhone sales might take a dip. So once you start seeing the actual core products, you know, having a problem and start deteriorating, then you have an issue for their brand.
Dean, here's an interesting one. Citibank up 19%. Explain.
Well, I'm biting my lip on that one. Look, it's about those 3 years of earnings before interest and tax added up and the profits to earnings ratio of that banking finance category added to it. That's why it's done so well. From a customer standpoint, it might be perceived as one of the more friendlier banks out of all of them, but Chase is on the list too. I always find a bit of a hard time when it comes to financial brands, to be honest with you.
Uniqlo, a Japanese brand, a newcomer to the list. Most of the brands, however, are American. Why is that?
Well, I could start waving the flag. It's America. America created brands, and those brands have been around for some of them many years. And so we've established an incredible foothold around the world, and people admire that. This is America. These are the biggest brands in the world, thrive and live here, and they employ people all over the world, and people enjoy their products all over the world. It's a real pride point for Americans.
Yeah, certainly is. America still making brands great. All right, Thank you so much, Dean Crutchfield, founder of the Dean Crutchfield Company.
If you like what you just saw, follow us on social media and visit our website, cctv-america.com.